Hey, listen, I hope everybody gets the full brunt of it, because if it's sad something, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome you to the Hampton Municipal Budget Committee first workshop. If everyone would rise for Pledge of Allegiance and flag. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to go around the table and have all of our members introduce themselves, starting.
Ginny Dwyer-Wetzel, school board member.
Mark McFarland.
Dick DeRozier.
Maureen Buckley.
Brian Lapham.
Joan Knight, Secretary. Eileen Latimer, Chairman.
Mary Louise Woolsey, Vice Chairman.
Mike Bluff.
Pat Collins.
Ben Moore.
Richard Renier.
Sandy Nickerson.
Joe Grzybowski.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, and hopefully everyone was safe and fared okay with electric, and electric soon to be restored.
We were lucky. That's what we were.
Yes, we were. For those who might be tuning in for the first time, although that doesn't happen too often, I thought I'd start with a little bit of humor before we go at each other. This is a work session to actually begin to prepare the budget. The Budget Committee by the RSAs is charged with preparing the municipal budget. Up to this point, all of the department heads have made their recommendations to the town manager. The town manager has made his recommendations to the Board of Selectmen. The Selectmen have reviewed and have passed their recommendations to this point. What is odd is that even with all the recommendations, we have to sit here and look at what's presented to us as though it was for the first time. And we absorb all the recommendations along the way that are made, but we look at this with fresh eyes, and we start the process tonight. All of the departments will come before us one by one. Tonight is a little bit like the mother lode, but there is not as many items in the departments who come before us tonight. So there are a lot of departments, and for that reason, we will try to move along. I would ask you, and looking around, this is a pretty seasoned board. Even our rookies on this board are well informed. Try to keep the questions to the 2013 budget, because by now I'm sure you've been asked to, and I'm sure you have followed along with the Board of Selectmen's meetings, so this has been gone over prior to this evening. And I'm long and drawn out on this, kind of from an instruction standpoint, just to say, let's try to keep, like I say, to the 2013 budget. If we need a history, we can certainly ask the department heads for it, but things that we cannot change, i.e. policy, let's try to stay away from that. So sometimes we're well-meaning when we ask some questions. This is about the numbers and where we go from here. Before we do that and get right into the budget, I'd like to get the minutes out of the way.
So move the minutes of October, whatever it was, 16.
16. Second.
Okay. Any changes to page 1? Sandy?
I don't have a change, but it says on the agenda, approval of the minutes of September 18th.
Okay, because I'm an idiot, so cross it out on the agenda.
Did we approve the minutes of the
Yes.
18th
Yes,
at the
we
last
did.
meeting?
We did.
Okay, so
You are
let's
correct.
cross that out and make that October 16th.
Sorry about that, folks.
We are all approved up to the minutes of the 16th.
And could you tell me who seconded the motion, please?
Heidi.
Okay,
Thank you.
moving on. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Okay. All those in favor of accepting the minutes?
Abstaining.
Abstain?
Abstaining.
Madam Chairman, could I just ask one question before we get started with the budget? And this is just a comment as to the process last year. It was moved motions were moved extremely quickly, seconded, and on to the next item. And if we could just
Slow it down.
slow it down to the point where the secretary can write down the name of the person that's moving the question.
Good point, Sandy.
And get the second and get the motion so that we don't feel like we're rabbits on a treadmill.
As you might have noticed, we only have half the amount of people here tonight for this session as we had last year. With that point already taken, that we moved maybe a little bit too fast. Also, bear in mind, this is a roll call vote.
Yes.
So when you put your hands up, please leave them up for an extended period of time so Joan can get them all. All right, we've got a little bit of cleaning up to do here. As you know, Pete Traynor resigned at the last meeting, and we have a position to fill. And at this point in time, do we have any nominations to bring to the floor?
Madam Chairman, I'll move that former Budget Committee member Victor DeMarco be appointed to fill the vacant Budget Committee seat up until the election in March. And the good part is that he is experienced in the budgeting process.
Are there any
Question, you've already spoken to him, I
Yes. In Florida,
I just wanted to second
but he'll be
that.
back.
Okay.
Were there any other nominations, or did you receive any?
Yes, I did. I did get another individual who also would have been excellent, but they've decided for personal reasons to withdraw.
All right.
So since they've withdrawn, I think maybe I'll leave his privacy.
So at this point, we have one candidate.
So at this point, we have one candidate.
All right. Okay.
And since we are already in budget season, budget session, if we could have a motion
I so moved.
to accept.
And
I
You seconded it?
yeah.
All those in favor? Opposed?
Are we doing a roll call so she can write?
Oh,
the-
yes.
We were
Hands.
unanimous. We were unanimous.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
unanimous.
unanimous.
We were unanimous, Sandy.
You don't want to write us all down? Gee, that's too bad.
All right. All right, first up to the guillotine here, Michael. And that would be page 13. We will be jumping around,
There you go. I got your pages.
and
Oh, pretty.
Mary Louise,
Yeah.
I'll have you move the numbers.
Yes, 13. Under general government. And I get my fingers working here. Okay, financial administration is page 13, 14, and 15, and 16. Wait a minute. Okay, the subtotal, Michael, the 315 is what you're looking for. I'll move a grand total for that account, accounting and financial only, of $315,291. Mr. Pluff seconds.
Mike, I've got an overall question to go to you. When it comes to supplies, are we, as we look at the budget, because there's supplies throughout the budget, are we buying in one spot and just breaking it down per department? Or is each department actually getting a budget and buying on their own?
It's the latter. My budget covers the town manager, finance. So the Xerox machine that's on the second floor, that's mine. So that I'm covering that. We also do envelopes, letterhead, etc. But the other departments actually do have their own budget for supplies. We are using Staples the majority of the time. Using that, we have a contract or agreement with them to get pricing.
That is, so you're still doing what you were doing the past couple of years.
That's correct.
So you have a grand,
We have an overall contract, per se, but each department will do their
business
own.
side. Yeah, good.
Okay.
We carry one of the bigger pieces.
And when it comes to printing, for the other departments?
I don't know that much printing is done, per se.
Copying?
Yeah, there are machines downstairs. There's 2 or 3 different machines within the building. So,
So they're all shared. Anything you want to bring to our attention before we get into it?
there was a late adjustment to the regular wages of $4,000. This is going to pop up periodically in different departments. I just want to make you aware of this. What has happened is that the Board of Selectmen this year came to the non-union employees and offered a salary adjustment, which would go in effect this year. And the offset would be to change the medical insurances to one of the plans that more mirrors what the unions have done. So that you'll find that there are salary adjustments. We have it in PD, assessing, rec, legal, finance, MIS, building, and the executive group. The grand total of the increases was $45,000 on an annual basis. They'll be spread around throughout the different departments as I just listed. And then there would be an offsetting credit for the change in the medical. It did not offset it completely, but it did offset a goodly a portion of it. I believe it was like $24,000.
Mike, but so we should be following the odd number pages, because that appears to be where the increase is, right?
That's correct. As I've done in the past, the odd number pages is the most current. And we're working off of column H, which is the Board of Selectmen. On the right side is what we started with in the requisition, and that you'll see those match through. But then when there's been changes, I've tried to at least give you a highlight. Like if you look on page 14 at the top, you'll see 12 salary adjustments. The number was 207, it's now 211. And if you go down a little further, contract services, there was a Board of Adjustment, so it went from 5 to 4. So that's I'm trying to give you at least a highlight of where it was, what to watch for changes, but everything is really happening on the odd pages.
Okay.
That's really the major change that occurred within that department, within the finance department.
So there were or were not, Mike, partial increases given in this calendar year?
Yes.
And translating that, and that's accommodated out of this year's budget?
Yes.
And this is just 2013 whole year that we're looking at?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Going around. I'll do raise of the hand questions. All right.
Mike, I'm looking at page 15 and 16,
Yes.
and I'm looking at the subtotal of 315,291 on page 15, and I look over on page 16, it's 312,791.
Okay, as
That's why we told
I just said, page 16 is where I started, and you'll find the 312 under the managers column, which is G.
Okay.
All right. Then now H is what's being presented to you.
I see.
The odd number pages, Board of Selectmen column, is what you are actually working on. The right side is where I started.
I guess I wasn't listening. All right, I got you, thank you.
I'll talk louder, then you'll get it.
Okay. Move it.
Yeah, everybody's got, you have a question?
Another question, well, maybe I'll wait till after we finish your particular department, but I have a question on the budget as a whole. If you'll answer that question now, or should we wait until...
I'm sitting here,
Well,
so
budget as a
might as well ask
whole,
him. Go
probably,
ahead.
he's the best man to ask.
Well, I was going to wait until we finish with his particular department. It's up to you.
Well, we're pretty much finished, so let us
Okay,
ask.
all right.
I've got to move the audit in a minute.
Are you
Right.
going further on in the budget?
No, just right here. Right? Not on his budget, no. On the budget in general.
General question.
Mike, I'm looking at your cover letter that is part of our whole process here. And it says, I would draw your attention to the bottom of the second page of the budget summary, which shows that the overall budget has only increased $82,692 over the 2012. This equates to a percentage increase of 0.34%. Now, this is where I'm cloudy. The major components were, can you explain if, you mentioned that this budget is $83,000 more than last year, but what is all of these figures here?
Okay, what I tried to do in this summary or the transmittal is to give you the very large pieces that made up the change. The first one will be the CBAs. Those are the collective bargaining agreements, and they're made up of police, fire, and Teamsters. When you add up all the changes that related to that in the salary categories and benefits, it's $574,000. So we had last year's budget for the in those departments or in those groups, we've added $574,000. So that's enough.
Right.
Okay? Then New Hampshire Retirement System increased the contribution percentage change.
Right.
Okay? Once again, you had the base salaries of last year. You've also added $574,000 to that, and now you've multiplied by a much larger percentage. Therefore, you have an increase of $168,000.
Okay.
Okay? So now roughly you're at 700,000?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay? Medical and workman's comp insurance actually went down for the first time in anything I can ever remember. Now, what you're seeing is the net effect of all the changes in the medical insurances that the unions have agreed to, changing from one class to another and the cost associated with it. And then we had very small percentage increases come through from LGC this year. So combined, medical insurance went down. Normally you're seeing $200,000 to $300,000 increase. Okay? So we were up 7, I just took you down a little bit. Okay? Now, the other one is debt service. Is down $662,000. So I've just taken that 7 down a little bit. I've now basically negated it. The $600,000 when we get to debt belongs to the police station. That's been paid off. Wow. That is a major change. That is a $600,000 change in this year because, once again, if you pay off a debt, it makes your expenses go down. Plus, normally as you amortize debt, they also go down a little bit too because your expenses, your interest expenses, a little less. This does not include any new debt that's potentially coming to us, dealing with the wastewater treatment plant, the fire stations, and or the Church Street station. Okay, all those debts will actually be, the loans will happen in 13, but normally you don't pay until a year later. So therefore, you're going to see 14 having the other change. It's going to come back at you in 14. Okay?
That explains it to me a little clearer. I mean, to show that, yes, we went up here, we went down here, and the end result, the bottom line, $2,000 increase.
Good.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mike, did the increase in the pension contribution come because of the downshifting of the state's responsibility to us?
We got it changed to 0% prior to this. Up until that time, it was 30. Was it 30%, Fred, that the state contributed?
Yeah.
And then it went down and it went to 0 in fiscal. I have to look. Their fiscal 11, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, what's happened is that they have redone the estimates of what they need to amortize their shortfalls, and these are the rates that are coming through now.
Okay.
So that's, and it'll happen for 2 years. I've got I can look and show you the rates in a second, but we're seeing this is half of a year for us. We're covered through June of 13 at the old rate, and then starting in July the rates jump. But so you get a melded rate. You know, it's an average.
Yeah.
But you'll see when you get into these sections what the new rates are going to look like. So it's quite an increase.
I had a question, and it kind of encompasses you as well as the rest of the budget. The percentage increases when we look at, for instance, that salary line, and I can look at another department that did not receive that, I don't know the term for it, for the insurance. Is that a compensated?
Okay, it was, we were dealing here with the non-union.
Right.
Okay.
So if I look at one of the non-union employees who is not part of that insurance piece, and I look at a percent increase, I can see what that person's salary or that position's salary went up, a percent, 1.5%, 2%. Is there any way to do that with the way it's listed with the folks who were involved with the insurance piece? Because it just looks like, I'm looking at that line at 6
Everyone in the non-union that received the raise had the offsetting insurance change.
Everyone.
As long as they had insurance. We have 2 people or 3 people that don't have insurance, so therefore it would go through. MIS is going to be a perfect example. You're going to see a change in MIS, but you would not see a change reflected somewhere else in the medical because neither of the 2 people take insurance. Okay, so and what happens is in this regular wages, not only you can see the change resulting from me, but there's also changes resulting from other things happening because most of my people in finance are Teamsters, and so they receive through the CBAs the Teamster changes. So that's why it's a meld of two.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, is that I'm going to see these lines as, like I thought I noticed earlier, it's all melded together and there's no way to necessarily break it apart to see, okay, this was a percentage.
There are very few non-union.
Right.
But like with mine, it's sitting inside where we have Teamsters also.
Just to clarify, so we don't get too far, the union increases were incorporated into a special money article in 2012. It was a 9-month figure.
Yep.
So now what you're looking at is the finance director has rolled those increases into a 12-month period in 2013.
I realize my confusion was the fact that when they are all bulked together, it's hard to break it apart. And for instance, if I wanted to say what a non-union person's salary or position increased as a percentage, that becomes difficult to break down? Or is it somewhere else in my book? That
You won't find that,
Okay.
but in my case, 4.7.
The percentages vary, Mike.
Oh, there.
Right.
Let's see. I've got 6471, 8125, 535, 4736.
Yeah.
So they're all over the
all
board
over.
because they were individually
Yeah.
worked out between the board of selectmen and the people involved.
Okay.
We all set
Everyone
to vote
satisfied
on this
on this
section?
section? Okay.
All set to vote?
All set to vote? The amount, $315,291. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Okay, if I may then, staying on the same page, page 15, under audit services, the requested amount for 2013 is showing as $33,350. I so move.
Michael seconded.
If I could just address that. You'll see that in actual in 11 for this line was 27,500, and then the actual through September right now is only 20,800. There is still a bill coming. They've done more work since then for the audit, etc. But it will not reach the $33,000 level. What the $33,000 level represents is the audit that we're having, but also potentially a single audit. A single audit will occur if we receive over $500,000 in federal grants. The Smutty Nose Brewery is being done through a federal grant. We are the recipients, and then we pass it back through. So if you were to look in your income statement and my statements, you'd see received and then subgranted. What I'm doing is I'm sending back the money. Okay. But anyway, that grant will probably put us over the $500,000 this year, so therefore I want to continue having the budget as presented.
Good.
Okay,
All right.
makes sense.
In favor?
Favor? Yeah.
It shouldn't be a big deal on the audit,
Unanimous.
right?
Okay. Level is level. All right. Thank you for the moment. I'm sure we're not done with you.
Oh, no.
I think I put the rest of those under admin.
All right.
Donna.
Donna Bennett,
Taxes?
come on down. Everybody, we're going to page 19.
What page is Donna on?
19.
Or plain 19, plain regular 19.
It's too organized.
Donna's requested figures coincide on both 19 and 20. Madam Chairman, if I may move for the tax collector's office for 2013, $94,730.
Second.
Good evening. My budget has some ups, some downs. The overall, at the end of the overall budget is increasing about $750. It does include Teamsters wage increase for my deputy, which is by contract. It does include a wage increase for the tax collector, which will be offset because I like the other department heads, have agreed to change the insurance. So that kind of coincides with that. Pretty much the only other big change is I lowered my supplies and expenses because we just don't seem to use as much as we've had in that budget.
Good. Okay. So I've got just a question.
Sure.
It's a good budget. It's a great budget. But could you walk us through the tax lien instrument line?
Sure.
I see that we recover it,
Yes.
but on the front end,
We have to pay it up front.
right, and is that filing fees or is that legal and filing fees?
It's just fees to have a title company search for mortgagees. We don't do those searches ourselves because they're insured and we're not. So we pay up front, and with the increase, with the economy and with the increase of the number of people that are going to lien, and the fact that we are also have moved our liens up a little earlier than they used to be, it does cost us a little bit more up front, but it's totally recoverable. The homeowner pays it.
So considering that, you're coming in under budget.
Just slightly over.
In
Just slightly.
practical standpoint.
Little offset, yeah.
Right.
It's an offset.
Right.
Okay. All right. Does anyone have any questions at all from this session?
I'm ready to vote.
All right. All those in favor?
Nice budget, Donna.
Thank you.
All right. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Donna.
Okay, moving along. Jane, if you'd like to join us.
Very good.
We're going backwards, everyone, to page 8.
The town clerk's operating budget for 2013, Madam Chairman, I will move the amount on page 7 of $201,280.
That actually is just for one section of my budget,
Oops.
just so
Am
that you
I
know, there's
messing you up?
actually 3 sections, and the overall for the 3 sections is $232,647. Because there's 3 sections, there's town clerk, there is
Voter registration and election admin.
election administration and voter registration,
So
exactly.
shall we do the 232,646?
Right.
Okay. I will correct my motion if I may.
Now, there has been a, I would like to say slight change, but not so slight.
Can I just stop it there?
Sure.
We're going to withdraw that motion.
Yes,
And we're going to make a new motion.
yes,
I'm
for
sorry.
the
That's
total
okay.
for her, 232,646.
Second on that?
Yeah.
Michael?
Yeah.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Since my review with the selectmen back in September, we've had a retirement in my office. So that will decrease some wages. Our senior bookkeeper, Joyce Heel, is retired effective 5:30 this afternoon.
Oh, my God,
Aw.
So after
congratulations.
25 years of service with the
Oh,
town,
wow,
Joyce
long
is...
time here.
Yeah, yeah. So she's going to enjoy some well-deserved R&R. So because of that retirement, obviously I didn't know about that when I was preparing my proposed budget. That actually would give us a decrease in the regular wages of $8,667, because the position I'm going to fill would not be senior bookkeeper, but bookkeeper,
Okay, give us
which is at a lower rate.
So
So
give
the
us
de-
a minute
the-
on that one.
What was that again, Jane?
Yeah.
The decrease would be $8,667, which represents 52 weeks at $19.50 per hour. I'm sorry?
Minus the replacement.
What do you mean?
Where are you going to put the replacement?
It's within that regular wages, and so instead of,
It represents the difference.
their difference is $8,667, so what that represents is instead of 35 weeks at $23.98 and 17 weeks at $24.69, which is what the senior bookkeeper would have.
I didn't hear the whole thing.
The
I thought
bookkeeper
it was
would
missing.
receive $19.50 per hour, 52 weeks, okay? Which is 35.4.
Right.
So what I'm getting for that now then is, instead of the 87,709, I'm getting 79,042?
Correct.
Mike, are you and I on the same
Yes,
page?
exactly.
And now we got to change the 201,280 on that
That's correct.
to,
And the 232.
what?
Yeah,
And the 232 you have to change.
Yeah.
Right,
No,
right,
well,
right.
we will at the end,
At the
but
end.
right on this page, 201,280, so I've got to take off 8667.
I can get that for you in just one second. So that would be 192,612.
So we replace that bottom line with 192.
Okay, a dollar.
What was it?
It's the rounding between my office and yours.
192,613.
192,613.
Slow down.
So on the final page,
Right.
for the final total,
Right.
Mike,
223,979.
223,979. I'll make a motion once we're through, unless there, in case there are other adjustments.
So with that, initially, that line item was going to be up 3% because of wage increases, but obviously that has changed that. So that does, that would have represented, and it still does, contractual wage increases for 4 Teamster positions, and then a 3% increase for the town clerk as well. I am not receiving medical benefits any longer through the town, so there's no bargaining.
No
for that. There's
bargaining with you?
That's-
We can't get you to pay us for
Yeah, no, I'm all
working
set,
here?
thanks.
Yeah, I've got a question going back to
Sure.
regular wages. That overtime of $1,000, now is that folded into that 8,000, that 8,700?
When you say folded into, what are you referring? That's in addition, that's a separate,
Separate by itself?
that's by
Aside
itself.
from that.
That's for the part-timers to cover for the full-timers when the full-timers are out.
Okay,
But which line is it on?
well, it's folded in.
Is that, that's incorporated in that total?
That $1,000 is included in the 79,043.
Good, okay.
Okay.
Right.
Mike, I don't know, is it small detail to ask for that to be separated, the overtime line separate in the future?
It can be done.
All right,
Just
just
comes out of the same
keep
account
the
right now,
overtime
right?
separate.
Yeah, right now, it's running out of the same account. That's the issue, so.
It's minimal, I mean, it's not that much.
Why bother to break it out, really? If it's what you have to pay, it's what you have to
Right, and
pay.
it's noted there.
We get enough confusion.
Well. Okay. But we're showing it in different areas. So we're showing it for part-timers as well. We can argue about that in the future.
I'm sorry, I just gave you misinformation. That $1,000 is for my deputy. When she's working at elections, it's overtime because we are obviously there for longer than just our regular work day. Town meeting, she's there with me on Saturday.
You know what?
So the other, when I said
Part-time.
overtime for part-timers, that's in the part-time wages, that's a separate
Okay.
line.
Here's my only point on it. When we put it on the same line as we put regular wages, we're very sensitive in this town to overtime, and if the explanation is there all by itself, it's not a question.
Mhm.
So, just future consideration. It's there, we all understand it this evening, but going forward. Okay. Going around the table. Jane, is there anything you wanted to add? to
Well,
that?
the only other thing I wanted to add was, because next year is a small year as far as elections go, that's why the budget is down as considerable as it is. You won't see that every year. It's every other year my budget is kind of on a roller coaster ride.
Mhm.
So,
And the beach stickers did well this year.
we're almost
We need to give you...
$34,000 we've raised so far.
Yeah, we needed to mention that. And that,
I'm very
that's with an
I'm very
expense of
excited
what,
about that.
2,000 in there?
What's that?
The expense on that was 2,000?
Right, but that also pays for the free stickers that we give
Right,
out anyway.
exactly.
Right,
So,
yep.
great way to go.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Well, if we're set with the town clerk, then I will amend my original motion, which should show on your bottom line total, on page 11, $223,979.
Michael, second? All those in favor? Unanimous?
Thank you very much.
Jane, thank you. Moving right along, Jane.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Just for the benefit of people at home, when the department heads come up to the table, would you introduce them?
Just, I did.
No, but, well, as we continue.
Thank you.
All right.
Next up is the Conservation Commission. Jay Diner. Dina, I'm sorry.
Evening, Jay.
Hi there. It's okay, I've been cold
I'll take that back. Jay Dina from Conservation Commission.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
And we're skipping all the way to page 147.
That's why I couldn't find it.
There's an index in the front.
147.
But everything all set, right?
Before I go further, do you find this a comfortable pace? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a board.
So far, so good.
Okay, well,
I'll let you know.
I know. Sandy, we've heard enough from Sandy for the past
you
week,
have.
okay?
Okay. Two whiskers. If you way in the back.
We have two changes to our budget from last year. The first is a $30 increase in dues from the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissioners. They're a great resource. We think it's worth the extra $30. The second is we have reallocated $500 that was previously allocated to Herd Farm signage to now office equipment and furniture. Because Rayanne has bookcases that are bulging and we're desperately in need of more filing space. So it's not an increase, it's a reallocation.
If I may, for the 2013 budget for the Conservation Commission, on page 147, the Board of Selectmen recommended figure of $30,803.
Second.
It's amazing you accomplish what you accomplish with what you have.
We have a great group of hardworking volunteers. And we also have a great town that supports a lot of our efforts, as they did with the Batchelder Farm this year, and that makes a huge difference. So we're very appreciative of the support that we get in Hampton.
I know if we were paying you by the hour, it would be,
Oh, would you?
you know. Wouldn't that be nice? You know, you do a lot of work, and we can't at least give you monetarily what you're worth. We can give the Conservation Commission at least praise for what they do. And that goes, you know, not as noticed sometimes and as loudly expounded on as we perhaps should, but take our gratitude with you.
Well, on behalf of the whole commission, I'll do that. Thank you.
All right, any questions going around the table? It's almost a shame to bring you in and not have to
Yeah.
grill you, you know. Go ahead.
Sorry,
That's nothing.
Nothing.
Doing a great job.
I'll do better
But he
next
looks nice on TV, so I'm ready to vote.
All right, all those in favor? Unanimous.
time. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Jay, thank you.
Madam Chairman, while we're still on page 147, because it's little tiny accounts, may I move patriotic purposes and town beautification so that we can just clear the page?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Okay, the top of page 147, patriotic purposes, total $1,800.
Any questions by anybody? No? Okay. All those in favor? Unanimous?
And in the middle of the page, town beautification. And by the way, Marilyn Wallingford does a great job every year in front of the town office. It looks particularly pretty this year. It's nice to have the volunteers. And I also see Mr. and Mrs. Moore and the little park at the end of Lock Road. I caught them doing their
beg your
beautification. And also volunteers at the park at Five Corners, and I'm sure in other areas, and of course the beach volunteers too. So I'll move $500 for next year.
Second.
All those in favor? Unanimous.
Yay, one whole page.
Alrighty.
Who's our next victim? Admin.
All right, administrative,
I did 2 pieces
our
on
town
that.
manager.
Yeah.
Fred Welch, if you would join us.
Slowly.
Slowly, yes.
It'll be slow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the storm got Fred ahead of time.
Well,
No more time
best
off.
laid plans.
No more time off for you. That's it. Locking you in the office. Let's see, Madam Chairman, under executive, the Board of Selectmen, an annual stipend of $3,000 each for a total of $15,000 plus the $500 for supplies and expenses. I'll move a total of $15,500 for 2013.
Page 1.
Very first.
Page 1.
And
Unless somebody's going to move for a raise here, all
we have a
those in
second?
favor? I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Do we have a second from Michael?
we've trained him well.
All those in favor? Unanimous?
And for the second portion of this part of the budget under the town manager, I'm moving for 2013 a total figure of $151,732.
Second.
And I have a question on this section.
Okay.
Okay? Everybody all? On page 2, in the breakdown, under 413-02-3910, NHMA conference, $700. Now, this is the municipal association part,
Correct.
not the LGC.
That's correct.
And roughly how many of your staff, is this for you to attend?
There are only 2 staff in
Only
the town manager's
2,
office. We both
just
attend.
you and Christina,
Right.
and okay, so that will cover it for next year for
It
you.
will, and we usually return a little bit of money.
To update you.
We try to anyhow.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
What's NERRS conference, Fred? New England?
Northeast Resource Recovery
Oh, okay,
Association.
right.
You talking
okay.
trash again?
Gotcha.
Yes, we are. Yeah,
It's
talking
trash.
trash.
Okay, other
You're
than
surprised that I know that, by the way, I'm sure.
Well, I was their first treasurer. I made the motion to create the association, so.
Fred, on the part-time wages, I'm
Yes.
assuming that's the minutes.
Yes, it is.
We're seeing sizable increase there?
Actually, we're not.
That line?
What we did last year is we artificially decreased it, and we spent the money anyhow. The theory of putting a smaller budget line in and trying to get the same amount of work done really doesn't work well. But the problem with transcribing minutes and trying to get them done, even though we have now contracted the size of the minutes and how they're done, it requires about 4 times as much time to do the minutes as it does to do the meeting. So you keep on going back, and
Do you think that that could be shortened time-wise by having that person actually at the meeting?
actually it would cost just as much, or probably more. We used to have the person come, and it actually cost us more.
I'm not getting it, but, I mean, if they're actually live there taking the meeting, minutes, I would think that, at the very least, they would just have to, this is,
What you're
going
doing,
into a different area, but
what you're really doing is taking notes while you're there. It's not possible unless you want to transcribe word for word what's actually going on.
Well, I think what we're running into now, your meetings can tend to run very long. So can ours. And yet we've got a big rate differential between what you're doing and what this committee does. And I haven't checked. We'll check as we go through the budget with the other committees that have secretaries.
In order to give what the Board of Selectmen wants in their minutes, this is what it's costing us. Now, the statute says that the minutes can be composed of who attended, the name of the person attending,
Yeah.
what motion was made, by whom, what the second was, who made the second motion, and what the vote was.
Right.
That's it. That's all that needs to be in the minutes, along with a short notation of what the subject matter was. Other than that, you're not required to have anything else in your minutes, but that's not generally the way minutes are done. From a historical standpoint, in many cases, I mean, we go back into the 60s and 70s to review minutes so that we have information on things that have come up again. And without a great deal of detail in those individual minutes, we really don't know what's happened in the past. So we've tried not to make them so short that we can't really figure out what's going on.
No.
And that does take some time.
I can understand, and we come in somewhere in the middle, not every word, but certainly not just a very clean line to it of, one or two words. So just trying to find logic to that, because we do have other boards that have secretaries, and looking at a rate that's a lot different.
I understand that, but if you're going to have the administrative assistant do that,
You did.
I'm going to need another employee.
Sandy?
Are you looking at the $6,000 figure?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just going to speak from experience, because
Planning
I
board.
have had experience for 14 years as the planning board secretary. I have had experience as the secretary to the Hampton Falls School District School Board and to the Hampton School Board. I was secretary, and I will tell you that $6,000 is pretty cheap. And to be accurate and concise, have your motions and have the information that people are saying accurate, $6,000 is a bargain.
Not much.
And I will tell you that I sat for 14 years in this room as secretary to the planning board. And some meetings we were here until 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I took my notes in shorthand, and then it took me twice as long to transcribe to make sure that we had all the that I had all the information. And most of my minutes were fairly well approved with not too many corrections. So for $6,000, believe me, you're getting a bargain.
I think you also have to consider the fact that those are weekly meetings.
Yes, they are.
That's right.
So,
Good point,
there
John.
you go.
Yes, good
There's
point,
a lot
John.
of meetings.
We also have to have them ready now within 72 hours of the
Right.
meeting. So it's even shorter period of time. So it's supposed to be 144.
Well, that makes a difference.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay.
Briefly.
Any other questions on this section?
Nope.
All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous?
Was that a unanimous?
I'm sorry?
Was that unanimous?
It was unanimous. Moving now to page 29.
It's the personnel admin, so it should dovetail. I'll so move the bottom line figure on page 29, ignore the right-hand page, and there is a total proposed for 2013 personnel admin, employee separation costs, merit pay, Social Security, retirement, Medicare, etc. $2,468,794.
Second.
And I have a couple of questions. With the sequestration looming in the Congress and the possibility of the tax cuts not being extended into 2013, none of us know what we're doing, I guess, including you at this point. Nobody knows what's happening with Medicare and Social Security, FICA, your withholding. What did you predicate this on the current rates, Mike, or?
The town hasn't received a differential. It's the employee, so therefore we've been paying the full rate, so therefore there's no change in the calculations.
Oh, okay. So we're not going to get caught
No.
flat-footed one
No.
way or another. Well, I should have known that you would say that, so that's good. And the retirement on the police officers line, the 41,552, 2320, how come that dropped? Just because we don't have as many members in the police department, or?
Reading that it went up by 19.9%
No, it's showing 594, 783.
against the budget last year, 496.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just a small increase.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
This is
So
where I
you were
was.
just a little,
Yeah, this is where I was making the reference. If you look, and we'll go to the right side, if you look at the New Hampshire, the Group 1 retirement, we're paying 8.8% for half a year, and the new full rate is 10.77, so you're getting a 979. If you then move to policemen, it's going from 1995 to 2530. So that's averages to 2263.
gotcha.
And then fire is 2289 to 2774. So that's percentage. For every dollar that a policeman receives, we pay him 25 cents. That adds up quickly. That's why you're getting some very good sized numbers, and that's why you're getting those changes of 16, 20, and 18%.
And one last final one. I know you've got the sick leave buyback, but the sick bank is operating happily now, I hope? Is it all?
We have a 2,100-hour surplus in the bank.
Okay, good. So it's back on track, no problems,
It is.
everybody's covered, all
We monitor
that
it
stuff.
quite closely every single day.
Excellent.
I had a question. Employee separation cost, doesn't seem like we're spending an awful lot of money right now. The amount spent through September seems to be pretty low.
Right.
In comparison to the budget.
That's right. And we have had fluctuations. It all depends on who retires. And right now, you just heard that there's a separation we just found out about, and it occurred today. So that there will be more charges coming through. So this is what we have budgeted for the last several years. And some years were up, some years were down. This year we happen to be down, but there will be some. And we do not know who's retiring. We can guess, but we do not know until they put their papers in. It is sometimes 14 days ahead.
Like, this figure is based on a projection of how many employees? Are you able to project that? Or you said you don't know how many are going to retire, but when you come up with the figures, you have to have some idea of how many you expect.
Well, as I said, this is what we've run for the last several years for the budget, and some years we're above it, and some years we're below it. This is for all employees, so that when they leave, they have sick pay, vacation pay, leave, whatever. That's the kind of thing that we're covering here. Because if I was to charge those costs to the department that they were leaving, they would not be able to be replaced, because some of these people are carrying several thousand hours. And so we need a place that doesn't hurt the departments they're leaving from. So we've carried this $212,000 for several years.
It's worked out pretty well as far as
Yes.
the number of people who have retired, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Mark, is your hand up, or?
Nope.
Okay. Any other questions going around the table? Just a note as we go forward. You know what? I know we heard it, and I know there's all the salary adjustments, especially on this page. And I hope everybody's marking those pages so that when you read them back to yourself before review, you'll remember that it doesn't match up to the left-hand side.
Could I make one point?
Yeah.
There's appendices B, as in boy. There's one page that shows all the adjustments. It shows by page number, by account, where it was, what it went to, so that's another way of keying in what you're seeing here, so that you can see what the changes were.
That's new this year.
No, ma'am.
No?
No.
Was it?
It's been there every year.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I missed it.
Ready to vote?
Okay, ready to vote on this one. All those in favor? Unanimous.
Before these gentlemen leave, Madam Chairman, we probably should address on page 37 town government buildings. As long as we're in the sync here. And I'll so move for 2013 for the government buildings, $100,055.
Second.
custodial services, telephone, electric, fuel, water, building maintenance, et cetera.
Are we doing anything extraordinary here, or was it just that it was a warm year?
I have a quick question on the electric, though. Is this anything to do with the work the Energy Committee has done?
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
So instead of seeing 22,000, we're at 19,800, or?
Correct.
Okay.
And you'll see a change to all of the electrical accounts except for street lighting.
Oh.
Well, street lighting is on a lumen basis, and you can't buy out the delivery costs, so
We're going to work on that.
I understand.
But that's worked really well. The
Well, yes,
Energy
it has.
Committee has made a big impact.
Well, they're working and starting to work on gas, and
We just can't get a good rate right now.
Well, we shouldn't
Ready
get
to vote?
too comfortable with that heating fuel.
Well, that's fuel oil, that's different.
Yeah, I know.
yeah,
That's natural gas. There's no fuel oil in this town.
no.
That's all natural.
That's-
That's all natural
that's all
gas.
gas, okay.
There's no fuel oil used in any
Okay.
department.
I thought you had fuel oil there.
Okay.
I'm
No,
ready
we
to
don't have
vote.
a single
Ready to vote?
tank in town to decrease, so.
All those in favor?
Brian and I are voting, hey.
Unanimous.
I think, are we missing anything, Mike?
You have municipal insurance on page 43.
Oh, thank you. Okay. As long as we've got you here and captive, we might as well. Excellent. Page 43, for municipal insurance, for 2013, I will move $3,568,800, and that includes liability and general insurance, health insurance, life insurance, unemployment compensation, workers' comp, and LGC dues. And I have a quick question there.
Second.
On the LGC dues, now, Mitchell been solidified, or are they still heading for the Supreme Court?
I believe they're still headed for the Supreme Court.
Okay, so we don't have anything yet, because if Mitchell is upheld, then we're not required to pay dues in order to participate in the trusts, is that correct?
That could very well be, yes.
Okay. But right now, it's an unknown factor, so.
It's completely up in the air, so we'll just have to wait for somebody to give us a firm decision.
Okay, it's not a huge amount of money, it's $14,800, but
Right.
nevertheless, money is,
I thought that none of them, excuse me, I thought nothing had been decided as to what reimbursement or where that money was going to go.
that's different though, Brian.
This
What I'm
is-
talking
this
about
is
is being
membership.
required.
No, but I didn't know,
dues.
with everything, I'm talking about everything here.
Well, Ben updated us a little bit
Fred, I
last
thought
And it's
that,
moved-
I thought
the film
that
strip
piece
moved
of it
forward a
was
little bit.
upheld because Salem
Okay.
withdrew.
It's an open question, because the entire matter's gone to the Supreme Court, so the Supreme Court's going to review everything.
Yeah.
So there could be a change.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
We
we're,
don't know. Everything that was on the table originally is back on the table again to start from fresh with the Supreme Court.
no,
So
okay.
it's possible they will just simply say, no, it's not part of the thing we're going to decide, we're going to leave it the way it was, or we're going to change that. So we really don't know what's going to happen at this point.
It's doing something, though, which is better than... And then under health insurance, gentlemen, now, last time Ben was talking to us, the possibility was that if Hampton is entitled to an initial refund from the LGC because of their fiscal shenanigans, that it might show as a credit or as a revenue against this line?
Mike can elaborate, but the Board of Selectmen took the decision that the contributions holiday, which is what I believe the LGC is calling it,
Right.
will be treated as a revenue.
Right.
And
So
I
we'll be
think the only-
underspending this line.
Negative.
Negative?
No.
It'll be of showing as a revenue on a separate
Against,
section of...
okay,
of,
gotcha.
the tax rate setting.
Yeah.
It'll not have any effect on the gross spending that's shown on this page.
Okay.
And the only difference, I think, between the report I gave you last time and what I know now, and Mike can elaborate, is that the first dollop, the first portion of this contributions holiday will be occurring in December.
Right.
So that when we get that, it'll affect, this year's audit, if you will. But we will put aside some percentage of that contributions holiday amount to reflect the refund that will be due employees who have contributed to their insurance.
Right.
And that'll be the discussions as to how to allocate that will be occurring between now and probably July of next year, I would think.
Right, and what I'm planning on doing is that I can put some, as Ben is saying, some amount aside for the refund to the employees for their portion, and what I'll do is put that in deferred revenue on the balance sheet. So therefore, it won't go floating through the income statement. Only the town portion would, and then that gives us, at least we're holding the money so that when we decide how and whom and what.
But that will incorporate taxing, too, since the health contributions were pre-tax.
Correct, and
You'll have
my first blush it would be a negative deduction, but from quick calculations, the per employee is running only about $40 to $50. That's it. So it'll negate somewhat of a week's deductions, and we'll do that right through the same account. So therefore, it would reduce that week's 125 plan. So it will go back in the correct place through payroll.
I bet it's really hurting them to cough up some of that money.
And so the 126,000 that we're seeing as a decrease in the health line is from the adjustments to the non-union people. That's where it's
Adjustments
showing
to all the union and non-union
Okay.
people.
Right.
That is we're seeing the major change due to the CBAs.
there. Right.
All set? All set. Any other questions before we move on? All right. All those in favor?
Are we missing anything else for you, Mike?
The only other thing is I have Management Information Services under my auspices, which is on
MIS.
page 21.
You know, was there going to be, I moved that to the second half
I didn't see it on.
on the second session. Is there anything we should talk about under MIS and programs and things that they're going to do? Or do you want to, you can't cover that tonight.
I'll be happy to move the line.
Okay, today?
Page 21.
We're on a roll.
It wasn't enumerated as general government number 2.
Don't jinx us, Mark.
On government number 2, all I saw was cemetery, trust funds, welfare, cable, library, and recreation. So MIS, as far as I knew, did not show up in the listing. And I figured it would probably come along with me in admin and finance. So
Yeah.
Let's just do it now.
I'll move 186,883 for 2013.
All right.
And I don't have any questions.
Any questions?
No, it's pretty straightforward.
there's really only one change. It's to the salary account.
Salary
account. Yeah, well, stick with page 21.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chris.
I have a step. Is this technician just for this department, or is this someone that...
We cover all the departments except PD. So when I say that, they're covering this building, which has, you know, all the departments in it, and then it's also doing public works and fire. So when these people are dealing with, in that room, all the servers, and then they're servicing all the computer systems and computers throughout everything except PD. There's a wall between us and PD for security reasons, and they have their own technical people on that.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'm ready to vote.
All right, go ahead.
No, nobody else. Oh, you have a question?
Nope.
I'm ready to vote.
I'm
You
jumping.
voting? Well, there's no sense in
All right, unanimous?
Dragging it on.
doodling.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Feel better, Fred.
Oh.
No more adventures in the woods.
There'll be no more woods. Thank you.
Thank you.
What do we got next?
Okay.
And let's see.
Planning,
Planning board?
Jamie.
31.
Jamie Steffen.
Want to ride home
And
tonight, too, Dad?
31 and
So
35.
did you ride
yeah.
home tonight, too, Dad?
Everybody awake here? Page 31 and 35.
In reference to Richard here, who is he? Who is this man right here?
Jamie Steffen is joining
And
us.
what does he do?
Am I saying it too softly?
You didn't, I don't know, maybe I thought you'd say this is Jamie Steffen, the town planner. Maybe people don't, I mean, we all know sitting around the table, but people out there in 22 land might not know.
That's my point.
I thought so.
Good point, Rich.
Jamie, thank you for being our town planner. For everyone home.
Actually, since there's no one here for zoning, do you want to go straight through from 31 to 35? Can you all happy with that? Because it's all kind of
Well,
incorporated together.
Mr.
Oh,
Mr.
Kevin?
Yeah.
Well, building inspector is a separate.
someone-
Yeah, but he's
Kevin? Yeah.
pretty involved with zoning.
Oh,
Under zoning.
you want Kevin to come up too?
Well, why don't you just do one at
No, I want to do one at a time.
Well, you've got, yeah.
You know what? We'll just
Yeah.
keep going the way we're going because it's
That way,
working.
John,
But you have
Jimmy
a
can go
combined
home.
figure on 35 for planning and zoning,
Just
Well,
needs to do his
just
part.
so you know.
Let's take this part first.
31.
Wait a minute.
35.
Well, yeah, okay. Page 31, Planning Board, $37,793 for 2013, with an estimated revenue offset of $10,000.
Second.
I want to ask why the legal expenses line has been zeroed out.
Go ahead.
You didn't do
That
that.
was- Yeah, that was done during the selectmen's review. The way I understand it, all departments were asked to look at their budgets for cuts, and that line item, and I believe a $500 cut was made to my staff development line item, which is basically conferences, memberships, and planning
Mm-hmm.
organizations, subscriptions, that type of thing.
Okay.
So that was, yeah, done as it went through the,
No money had ever been spent in that account since I've been here. That legal line had not been used
You know,
6 years.
the only thing I'm gonna add something here, all right, and then I'll lay it out to the boards. We're in the same position you are. We're autonomous boards, and if we come to a situation where we are in disagreement with the Board of Selectmen on an issue from a legal standpoint, we do not have access to legal counsel because legal counsel represents the Board of Selectmen. And I see Attorney Gerald in our audience. What I'm saying is correct, right, Attorney Gerald? Which is one of the reasons why we put the legal money in our budget.
I would say not.
Okay?
You're not correct.
All right?
If this board or another board needs legal counsel and I can't provide legal counsel because of a conflict, then I would obtain outside counsel and charge that to my budget for the board.
Why was this not done in the past? I'm trying, this isn't confrontational,
No.
but I'm sitting here because we have legal money that we've only recently put into our budget.
Yeah, it hasn't come up
And
to...
I would say that our other boards should be working the same. So what you're doing now is you're speaking actually to his board, and you're speaking to this board, because we have legal money in it, because in the past we did run into a situation where we were in conflict and we were told that we could have no representation or access the monies from the town budget. We were on our own. We proceeded on our own to get legal advice voluntarily from attorneys. So we then put money into our budget. So looking at this, I'm saying, well, we're either in the same position or we're not, and if we can clarify that, we can look at our budget as well. But the thing is that the bottom line is if we are at any time in conflict with the board, we need to be guaranteed that by taking the money out, we do have access to legal counsel.
As far as I'm concerned, I mean, I can't speak for the Board of Selectmen because I didn't ask them that before this meeting, but as far as I'm concerned, when there are times that I have encountered where, let's say, for instance, the building inspector, who I counsel frequently, if his decisions are appealed, to the Board of Adjustment that I also provide counsel to, I don't represent either. And therefore, I can't represent either, and therefore hire outside counsel to represent one or both.
But it would come out of your budget.
It would come out of outside counsel budget. That's correct. I've not been asked to obtain counsel for you other than myself. I'm not opposed to that myself. The Board of Selectmen would give me input, but if this board needs outside counsel...
Can't speak for the Board of Selectmen either.
I know.
I don't think there's ever been an issue that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
But I didn't serve consecutively since 1638, so...
But you knew how to use the clock.
In fairness, Ben, the issues that we had regarding legal issues were before you were on the board. But we did, and we did go to outside counsel.
And that bill was paid for, I presume.
We did not get a bill. Okay, we went to outside counsel who gave it to us for nothing. All right, which necessitated us then putting money into our budget so we wouldn't be in that situation again. Because if they hadn't been kind to us, we would have gotten a bill and no one would have paid it except maybe Mary Louise and I, because that's how it went. I'd like to open this up for discussion a little bit on this line. It's a small thing, but and not at the same time.
Personally, I would think if this board or any other board had a need for legal services, we would go to Mark. And if Mark had a conflict of interest, he would hire outside counsel under his budget for that.
It wasn't the case, though.
But that's
Right.
the way I think it.
Having
That's the way I think it should
well,
work.
I guess what I'm saying is, having been there and done that, and was told no, things change. And we have the town manager here, we have a selectman here. I guess what I'm getting at, if things have changed, because we've also solidified a legal department now, if it's changed and going forward, it is as Mark has portrayed it to us tonight, and we do have access, if we ever should need it, through the legal department's budget, then we can then
Remove it from ours.
take it out of our
Take it
budget
out of our budget.
as well. If that is not the case, then Jamie's in the same situation we are. Small issue, but when it comes down sometimes to a legal issue, and if you're sitting there with no money in your budget, you have nowhere to go if what we're saying tonight isn't, in fact.
Madam Chairman, through you to Mike Schroetzer. How many departments have line item legals in their budget? You mentioned planning, zoning, and budget committee. Are there any others?
Excuse me. Richard, that would be the only three that would have an issue, because we're
Well, that's what I'm saying. Are there any others that are in the same category?
We're not departments, we're elected boards.
Zoning has a line item but no budget.
Right.
Can I clarify? Go ahead.
There are three.
Okay.
Planning, zoning, and budget.
There are just three.
Right.
And we're the only one with a line, with money in it.
Amount, it has a line item but
A line item, but no
nothing in
amount,
it.
right.
Okay, let's just clarify for a moment, if we will. The selectmen control the budget, not the town council or anyone else. The selectmen control the budget. If independent elected officials want to get free information, which is available from the local government center, they are not going to get it if what they're looking for is in conflict with the interests of the Board of Selectmen, because the Board of Selectmen has priority through the local government center. Planning and zoning should be able, the planning department, which is critical, and I think Sandra can speak to this as well, potential for huge lawsuits, et cetera, through the planning and zoning departments. That's very sensitive. They should have immediate access to outside counsel of their own choosing, qualified outside counsel in their particular field. I think it's certainly acceptable for them to have a legal line in their budget. If the budget committee gets excited about something and wants to hire outside counsel, I hired outside counsel for the budget committee, and Sandra probably remember this in the 80s when we were trying to shake loose some of the unreserved fund balance, and I hired Attorney Engel over in Stratham with the budget committee's approval, obviously. The selectmen were kind enough to pay that fee, but it would depend on whether or not the selectmen choose to do that, even though you're an independent elected board. So I would strongly suggest that for planning and zoning and the budget committee, that the legal line be left in that way. The budget committee, as a committee, could direct its chairman to hire counsel, or the planning board or zoning board could direct Jamie or their chairman to hire counsel. I think it's a smart thing to have that independence for those two areas.
I don't have a problem with keeping a line item, but I have no, listening to the, our attorney and knowing what's going on, not in 1980s,
But it's the
but in
selectmen who control it,
2012.
Brian.
That's fine, but like you said, you didn't even get a bill last time
What? No, whatever.
from the Board of Selectmen. They paid it.
No.
No, it was pro bono.
We were refused access
This is
to legal.
recent.
Yeah.
It's a recent history.
But even so, what's $1,000 really going to do?
What happens is if you don't have anything, when we were refused, we had no way to access legal unless we got someone to do it for nothing for us. So we needed a legal decision, and we got it, and the attorney who gave it
But
to
that
us.
doesn't seem to be the case now.
Well, you don't know,
we
Brian.
now
'cause
have
things-
money in our budget.
Yeah, but things change
Right.
from year to year. One board of selectmen might be very nice. Some years they are. One board of selectmen might be grumpy. I don't know.
Sandy?
You
But
know,
it's leaving you hanging
we started
out.
off on a very nice foot
Yeah.
this evening, saying that we weren't going to go backwards and talk about things that happened in the past, but we were going to concentrate on 2013 issues. And we have our attorney, in-house attorney here, who has, on camera, said that he will, if need be, if there is a conflict, direct us to an outside counsel. And I don't know why we're beating, like a dead horse, we are beating this. You know, what, can we not move on forward to 2013? What happened in the past happened. We have Mr. Gerald, Attorney Gerald, saying what he's saying. He's on camera.
And he's also saying that it will come out of his budget.
Out of his budget. What, you know,
That was my favorite part.
You know, don't turn around and, you know,
Maureen,
rub
with
blood,
the
so.
selectmen's approval.
With the selectmen's approval.
Uh-huh.
All right.
I guess we would need to have
And your board
a decision made by
Ben
the selectmen, I know.
Ben isn't here all the time. You have different boards of selectmen, and things change.
Bottom line is, while we're on this account,
Right.
Right.
do you feel comfortable having the line item in there empty with what Mr. Gerald, Attorney Gerald had just said? I guess let's bring it back to this page, and then we'll get to Budget Committee when we get to Budget Committee.
And we should.
And shall we want to keep it?
Yes.
You've had it in there before, you haven't spent it
We haven't
before.
spent it.
Do you feel comfortable that you'd be able to go to Attorney Gerald
Yeah.
and have what you just said? Okay, thank you. That's all I need.
So you don't need,
Well, let's vote on it then.
just make it through soon.
Okay. Any other questions?
We can do our budget when we get.
Moving on. Okay.
Are we going to
You
vote on
need
that?
to
now?
We vote?
Well,
Well, what's-
I'll make a motion
All those in
on...
favor?
Okay.
Yeah, Attorney.
There was a motion made.
Oh, there was a motion
There was a
made?
motion to open
What
it.
are we voting on? All those in favor, what?
I moved the $37,793 for the planning section.
Yeah.
Planning
Okay.
board.
Right.
Fine.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Zoning board is on the next page.
And we're going to vote.
Well, we're trying to, I guess.
Are we going to vote on this motion?
On planning board.
Okay, all
In
those
favor.
in favor?
I'm opposed.
Okay.
Okay.
Eloise is
So, oh,
And
opposed.
so there's no
I'm
problem
for it.
with the recorded vote, because you can just do it that way.
Right.
Moving to page
And
30.
the vote was?
Do we need a roll call?
Unopposed.
13.
Well, you don't need a roll
opposed.
call, because there's only one in opposition.
She's going to put
so-
everyone down to
One
yes,
no.
and it's only
Yeah.
Eloise in
So it should
opposition.
be
Moving to
listed as a
page
no.
33, zoning board, with legal expenses excised, a total of $5,310, and the estimated offset from revenues would be around $6,000.
Office of Planning.
Okay.
Gonna make money.
You're still going to be Office of Planning, you just did the...
Yes, don't leave.
Yeah.
Don't leave.
Now we're on the zoning, it stretches across like 6 pages, so.
You want to do...
Yeah, don't
Yeah,
leave,
but
Jenny, we're just taking this up because it's in the middle.
Do we have a second on 5310?
Mike?
Yeah, Mike did.
Okay.
Of course.
Okay, it's the same as last year, it's the same as last year. All those in favor?
Cool.
Unanimous.
I'm
You're
I'm
opposed
opposed
to that
on this
one?
as well because the legal
It's
line
illegal.
has been removed.
Right, can we,
And it's
Moving
not
to
been-
page 35, the office of...
But it was removed 5 years
Well,
ago.
it was removed.
The line is still there.
It wasn't there in the last 2 years.
Well, because the line is empty, whatever, however you want to phrase it.
So why do you want to...
They should have access to well, I'm opposed because there is no
Okay.
money in there for
Entitled to be
legal for zoning. Moving on to the Office of Planning, which is Jamie. Page 35, for 2013, the figure is $73,908.
Okay. Jamie, going south in staff development on this, is this because you're trying to find places in the budget that you can do without, or is it because you really don't need to train anybody any better than they're trained?
It's just looking in the budget where we can
Being frugal.
reduced. I don't do national conferences routinely. And I have done the conference in Boston because it, when it comes around, because it's nearby. But I don't go to L.A. or don't go to Chicago or the other big. But I do find a lot of benefit in doing the Northern New England conferences, which is New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont.
And
It's
that's
an
in
annual
here?
conference.
That's in
and
here?
the New Hampshire Planners Conference.
That's good.
And I usually have a planners annual meeting, and there are occasional professional development workshops, that I will attend. So, I can make do. I think I can still get the benefit with that amount, but it would be nice to have what I requested.
Can I ask which conferences did you have to forego to get down to that 740?
Well,
was it one of the
I
regional
don't-
ones, Vermont or?
Like I said, I just, the Northern New England Conference is in the fall, and I just attended that. It was in Brunswick, Maine this year. The registrations costs are going up annually, so it's not as affordable as it used to be, but and I haven't looked at what this impact's going to be, because I don't know what the registrations are going to be, but it will be tight to be able to do both conferences, I think, and then anything else. Plus, this will cut into what the planning board members will have available for training. For instance, like the law lecture series, usually in the fall, there are three sessions usually, and they're $25 for that. So if you have a couple of board members that want to attend those, that's an added expense.
Jamie, is the town going to miss out on some important information by not going to these conferences? I mean, usually if you go to some kind of a technical conference or a meeting, you learn something new, some new techniques, some new knowledge that we're going to miss out on, I would think.
Yeah, like I said, they've been very beneficial. They're well worth the money. Like I said, I don't do the national conferences. I suppose for the conferences that are closer, and I don't necessarily have to do the overnight, but I think they're like I said, valuable to me and the planning board and the town. So
So
I would
that-
make a motion that we increase his staff development to the 1240 that he requested.
Second.
The only thing I would comment on this is, I'm inclined to feel the same way you do, Dick. You've got a very tight budget. You don't have any money in your budget to take anything from any place. And I have seen a lot of the fees go up, and you're right. We get a new board member elected into office, and they need a workshop to get them up to speed. So all those in favor of increasing
The amendment.
By $500.
By 500?
by 500,
To the 1240. Okay.
keep your hands raised, because it is a roll call.
Okay. Brian? No. Pat?
No.
Ken? So we have 3 no's. All right.
So we're putting that back in.
So that will change the bottom line to 118,511.
Well, it'll change the sub-line.
No,
The
one
amend-
s-
Oh, I'm sorry, to 74,408
74,408,
due to the amendment.
and we can do that total line.
Now the main motion is amended? Need to vote on the main motion as amended.
All those in favor? And so it'll be the same.
Okay.
Has to be the same.
And then if we may,
total.
for the Office of Planning and the Planning Board and Zoning Board, the total for Planning and Zoning, account 4191, for the year 2013 will be $118,511.
I'm sorry, I
The
don't get that.
117,000.
17.
No, you just added money in.
At 117,511.
117,511.
You only added 500.
541, I believe. Is that 11 or?
11.
11, thank
You
you.
added 500.
Well, with 1240 and the manager's line, it came to 74,408, and the bottom, the Planning and
There are
Zoning.
changes in other departments that moved from the 118.5 to 117. You'll see that there's more than a $500 change. So
Okay.
you're dealing with 3 subtotals already,
So it should be 117,511.
Correct.
Okay. I will move for the total account to confirm the 117,511.
Second.
There, we did it.
All right. All those in favor? We are moving on with our building inspector, Kevin Schultz. Kevin, thanks for joining us tonight.
Good evening, thank you.
Pages 89 through 92. Total for building inspection on page 91, 208,866 for the year 2013. Estimated revenues from building permits are around $175,000. The department pretty much pays for itself. Say something nice to us, Kevin.
How are you this evening?
Fine, thank you. Good to see you.
Yes, you do see a small increase in my proposed budget of
Yep.
a little over 11%, and almost all of that is due to salary increases, contractual, through Teamster employees that are in my department, as well as non-union employees that opted for, like myself,
Yep.
a change in the insurance for an increase.
Now,
And
you
you
replaced-
will see that I did actually reduce a couple of my line items in vehicle maintenance.
You did?
That was reduced $1,000.
You got 2 new trucks now?
Over the last year, we have been able to manage to replace both vehicles now. So we are
So we have,
running brand new, 2 new vehicles in
What model year, Kevin?
2012,
They both 212s?
212 Chevy Colorados,
Excellent.
light pickup trucks.
they'll be under warranty for how long?
I think we should be good for about 10 years, as far as I'm concerned, because the other ones lasted me even longer than that. So
Yeah.
Warranty-wise, it's
Good for you.
warranty is
3
years.
336 on those.
So we own them, we don't lease them.
Excuse me?
We own them, we don't
Yes.
lease them.
That is correct.
We own them.
And the warranty, kind of bumper to bumper, is 3 years.
Exactly.
Okay.
Good.
And the other line item was repairs and maintenance. That was reduced about $400.
Yeah.
We used to have a contract for the copying machine for service and stuff like that. Since those were updated, we just go pay-as-you-go type if you need repairs, and it seems to work out much better.
Okay.
The one item that you will see that was part of the increase is a new position that I am seeking, and that is for a part-time secretary to work in my office 2 days a week, just to help with all of the administrative and paperwork and just everything that we're doing in there. We generate a lot of paperwork and logs and inspection reports, and we work with the rental certificates of occupancies, and of course we also do the administrative work for the zoning board of adjustment. So there's a lot for one young lady to do, Leslie. So
Kevin, ballpark figure for this year, value of building permits, what you think you'll be adding to the tax base?
well, I can tell you right now, the projected was 175. As at the end of September, I had collected let me just double check that, 161,373 in permit fees. So that does not show what I've collected this month.
Right.
And I can tell you, I just received a check today on an application that's over, just under 18,000 for one permit.
And
So I'm already in the 180s, not counting everything that's been pushed out the door this whole month. So I'm looking, I can tell you right now, if it keeps going the way it's going, because we are a very busy department, and there is a lot of work going on. All you got to do is take a ride around town. There is a lot of construction going on. I wouldn't be surprised if we get close to $200,000 in revenue.
And the value to be
Value
added
of
to the
construction
tax
so
base?
far to date is $24,047,740.
So that's
Value of
going to,
construction, now that's everything. You got to keep in mind that's not only new buildings, new homes, additions, renovations, but you have people putting in new heating systems, electrical service upgrades, plumbing, you know, it's the whole gamut that we oversee, inspect, issue the permits, and approve.
If we were comparing that to last year,
Last year, total, for 2011, the value of construction for the entire year was $19,364,212. So we are about $5 million over that,
so far.
and I haven't counted October yet.
yeah. Do you know what our fire losses have been?
Say it again?
Do you know what our fire losses have been?
Our fire losses?
Yeah.
That I can't help you with.
Okay.
Chief will have
Don't even understand the question.
Minimal. Just a question, because, you know, one offsets the other.
How many buildings burned? There's been a few fires.
Yeah.
That just counts the people that are pulling permits.
Good idea.
Sorry.
Don't give them any ideas now. Come on.
Think if you could go.
Well, we do the best we can in monitoring work that's being done in town, and I think we got a pretty good handle on it. I mean, it's me and Chuck Marsden, the assistant building inspector, work full-time.
Yeah.
And we pretty much handled the bulk of all of the new construction and all of the renovations and that. Scott McDonald's a part-time inspector,
Yeah.
and he strictly does all the rental COs. And as you're aware,
Good.
we have literally thousands of units. I can give you an example, if you'd like, just on some of the work that Scott has done this year.
For the public, that's certificates of occupancy.
That's the rental certificates of occupancy program that was put in place in 1997.
Yep.
But as of this year, as of the end of September, Scott has done 786 rental inspections. We've renewed 82 occupancy permits existing that came up for renewal, and we issued 43 new occupancy permits that weren't rentals in the past, for a total so far this year of 359 units getting back online.
Good.
Updated or new.
And Kevin, walk us through, because once the permitting process is completed, the construction is completed, then that information is passed on to Mr. Tinker in the assessing
That is correct.
office?
That is
So that
correct.
he can get
We-
ready to
yeah.
send them a nice
Throughout the
bill?
whole phase of construction, we come out, we perform our inspections, we have a schedule of inspections that we require. We come back, we log those in.
Mhm.
That is that new secretary, what
Yeah.
she will be doing, because then we enter them into the computer database.
Yeah.
So we can look at any street address, call up the whole history
Yeah.
of it. And then, once the job is done, we close that out, issue the occupancy permit if it's required or whatever, and then those permits are sent to assessing, where they pick up
Yes,
the work that was done, the value of the work that was done.
and that's
Because the value of
increasing,
the work is part of the permit.
that's increasing the value of the properties in the
You got
town,
it.
which means...
Which increases the tax
Tax.
revenue,
revenue.
the tax base.
Right.
So you're getting the revenue coming in on the permitting end,
Mhm.
and you're also getting the revenue coming in on the tax base on the increased value of properties.
Right.
We try to keep a handle on it, but there's a lot going on, so we do the best we can.
Now, I'm not going to talk you into more money, but how tight is it getting for inspections? I know you guys are doing a lot of them.
I mean, we got a system that's working. I mean, right now, if I can get this additional part-time secretary as a permanent part-time employee, because right now I have someone working in there temporarily, and I'm just kind of spreading out that part-time salary that I have
Good.
for that additional work, because we're getting behind, which slows down the process to get the,
Mhm.
over to the assessor's office as well.
Yeah.
So, that would be a big help, and I got a pretty smooth system going there right now. But, you know, it's the department, it's
I
the
think
people
it's
you
good.
work with, you know, I got a good crew.
And you work closely with the fire department as well.
Work very closely with Scott Steele, fire inspector, and obviously Chief Silver. We're always in touch. Especially on these bigger projects, we have to be on the same page.
I have no problem with this budget.
All right. Any questions going around the table?
No.
No? Okay. All those in favor? And
Good job, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good job.
Come
Good
in
night.
anytime.
What's that?
Just don't ask for money.
Ed.
Moving on to assessing.
Okay, anytime you don't need money.
Page 17.
Good evening.
Town assessor, Ed Tinker.
Good evening.
Welcome, Ed. Page 17.
Yes, page 17 and page 17 and 18, and I will move for the assessing department for the year 2013, a total figure of $242,287. And that includes a wage increase. That's why you want to stay with your figures on page 17, a slight wage increase on the regular wage line.
Ed, talk to
Okay.
us.
Well, just to give you a overview of last year's budget, we actually were able to reduce our typical budget by 20%. What it allowed us to do is add a line item, which you'll see under
Contracted services.
contracted services of $60,000. The $40,000 we saved in reducing our assessing budget, we put that 40 into that line item. We also were able to carry 20,000 from the legal department's budget, so that what we'll do is contract expert services through the assessing budget going forward. So that's the change for us. So our budget in reality is level from last year, and then the 20,000 came from the legal department.
And for those of you who are not familiar, BTLA is the Board of Tax and Land Appeals up in Concord, where Ed doesn't want to spend much of his time, but if there's a question on whether you're being assessed properly and taxed properly, that's where you end up.
Does anybody have a question on that one? Rick, in particular?
And a great job.
Thank you.
And you're coming up on another, like, you were doing 5-year revals, right? So you just finished, you're looking
We did the
forward
11 revals.
the next
We're-
one,
We're
yeah.
hoping to get through to 16 to do the next one. We're
Yeah.
hoping that we can make that.
But great job in the office. In favor? Unanimous.
Okay, thank you
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Going to
25.
page 25. Welcome, Attorney Cheryl. How are you?
Thank you.
Now, I want to make sure I get the whole thing here.
Page 25.
Do, 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 do. 27 and 20... 25, right. 26, 27, and 28. So I will move for legal for the 2013 operating budget, a total of $238,738.
Is there a second?
Yep.
And just for introductions for the public, can we have an introduction of who's at the table?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't note that. We also have town council, Mark Gerald, and assistant town council, okay, Wanda Robertson. Wanda, I didn't see you, I saw Mark come up, and I looked down finding my page, so. Okay, thanks. Sorry about that. All right, Mark, you want to talk to us about your budget?
Sure, very fine. The budget is down 14.94% from last year, or from $280,656 to $238,738, or a difference of $41,918. As you've heard Mr. Tinker just say, 20,000 of that figure is a moving of a sum out of our litigation expenses, reducing that amount from $25,000 last year to $5,000, committed therefore to assessing. I hope all of you have gotten a copy of a confidential memorandum from me with a list of pending litigation
We
cases.
sent everyone
It's
online.
online, but I don't know.
And I also brought some more printed copies because if you need them. So if there's anybody
I
here
have
who
some
doesn't have
extras
them.
as needed.
Yeah,
All right.
Mike and I don't have
But you
printers.
did get those online, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
As you can see from this list, 16 of the 23 cases on this list are actually under tax abatement, either at the Board of Tax and Land Appeals or the Superior Court. And as is the case in a number of communities, these involve very high dollar amount commercial properties in a number of instances, including utility properties. So the defense of those is very important. These cases often involve expert testimony that's presented on the other side, and therefore by way of an expert appraiser. And in the case of utilities, a very small number of people actually perform that type of expertise. So this is to make sure that those cases which are defended for tax purposes are fully funded, the defense of those. So of the $41,918, that's not $20,000 going to assessing. The rest are achieved in savings by virtue of staff development being reduced from $3,000 to $1,500, other labor costs being reduced from $39,000 to $20,000, and damages and judgments in the last round being reduced from $10,000 to $1. The department consists of 2 people, as it has since January of 2003. The 2 people are both attorneys at this point, and we have managed to achieve in savings so far through 75% of the year approximately $71,610 has not been spent. Of that, savings achieved of that 71,000, approximately 60,751 of that is what would otherwise have been allocated to outside counsel in 3 different forms. One is outside counsel, generally. Another is collective bargaining counsel. And the third is outside labor counsel. So among the three figures that you see on the page 27, thank you, page 27, the savings achieved so far are $60,751 of that is achieved in savings on those lines. A lot of that I attribute to Attorney Robertson's being full-time and licensed counsel. She's spent approximately 20% of her time is spent in labor areas, and had the hours that she's been spent on outside counsel, you would have seen approximately $41,000 more in expenses that have been saved by having her do that at a much lower rate in-house. Her hourly rate is approximately $44 per hour. Mine is approximately $66 per hour for this year. We're in a position to be preventative and proactive when we see things at a much earlier stage than outside counsel would. And just as an example of the non-human resources job that she does, is to review every invitation to bid that's sent out to bidders for work for the town, and our department in turn produces most of the contracts that result from the award of those invitations to bid. This year alone, she's reviewed approximately 26 invitations to bid before they go out and produced approximately 16 contracts awarding them. She also is involved in the litigation of bankruptcy matters. I've mentioned on the confidential memorandum that our Hampton tax collector has pending approximately 12 bankruptcy cases where the town is listed as a creditor. And although she is not able to proceed to deed properties that are in that kind of status because of the stay that bankruptcy imposes on those types of actions, there's lots of steps that can still be taken, and these need monitoring, and some of them are complex cases, and Attorney Robertson has been working on those. Also, I'm working her into doing more of litigation in the Superior Court system, and I'm pleased to find that she's able to assist me in that. And in just the tax abatement cases, if you look at the list, the ones that you see underlined on that list from numbers 8 to 23 are pending in Superior Court, whereas the ones that aren't underlined with a BTLA number are the cases at the Board of Tax and Land Appeals. So, that's our presentation.
I'm going to allow everybody to ask questions, but I just want to jump a little bit to human resources, and something I noted
Back a page to
that would be on
23.
page 23, so hold both places, both 27 and 23. Now, I know when you're covering human resources, we have no figures for human resources as a breakout. It's all combined in legal?
Why?
Last year, there was 2 things proposed in human resources, one of which would be a part-time person, and then there were also some printing costs. And at this board's level, it changed that to 0 in regards to when I believe the legal budget was worked with. And so that line is, nothing's been proposed, so the budget is 0 as it was last year.
But the position was created by the voters?
No.
No, it was created by
Selectmen.
selectmen. So
It's not a position technically, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong. It's a function that has been assigned within the legal department.
There's certainly been more work done in the legal department on human resource issues as a result of Wanda being appointed our human resource coordinator, I believe is the official title.
Correct.
So I think I'm not familiar with all the details. It seems like there was a $15,000 number that floated about at the BOS level last year that was eliminated at some point between the upstairs and this and the budget committee. So there was no budget last year. There is no budget proposed this year. The work is performed in the legal department's budget.
Then why is there a separate account showing here? It's irrelevant.
I don't know why it's printed out. Perhaps because it was mentioned at some time in the past. It's the same as why the legal line is still showing in the zoning department or the zoning board.
And we're not denying your existence, just a matter of where we're going to find.
It's confusing to see a separate
It is.
account
I
set
could
up.
have eliminated them this year. I just put it in the zeros as it happened. They can be eliminated. That's quite easy.
It's a human resource.
You know, it's wearing two hats, and it just to me muddies things up to have it combined because it's two different entities. I don't.
What happened is, at
Yeah.
the final meeting, I very much remember the public meeting, the votes in place to reduce the legal department budget with the human resources person in there. When that failed, I think I actually, but somebody, the amendment was then to, when the legal department went forward as voted on, then we said then that human resources position, the motion was to take that out and put it
under the town manager.
Right. So, but I think that having this page here tonight is good. I mean, it just brought up that conversation. Now we realize it in running forward.
Up until last year, there was actually money in there for forms.
Right.
The person was a new ad, so that was the difference. And it's just that when it went to zero, I did not eliminate the page, that's all.
So there's an assignment of duties in-house to an already existing employee rather than a separate configuration.
Originally, though, the human resources, you would find more activity in the outside counsel. That position that we were dealing with last year was a new position, so the function had already really been in legal. It had just been handled more on an outside counsel basis.
Okay.
Okay. The human resources person was not to do that type of work, but rather it was to be working on policies, etc.
It was more administrative, wasn't it?
Right, it was administrative. So, so the money is in the same place it's always been. It's just that now some of the duties have been assigned to Attorney Robinson.
But has that position that was thrown out there last year now morphed into more responsibility?
No, that doesn't exist. The one that got eliminated last year, it was a potential ad, part-time, was eliminated, has not been represented.
What happens is that you have an existing employee who has been assigned a duty which is related to their field of expertise, but a distinct field of focus. Is that fair?
What?
Okay, that's clear as mud.
You didn't have to hire a new person, so you assigned to an existing person an additional duty.
That's a fair way of saying it.
Just very quickly, I have, and I don't know if this is right or not, but I really kind of have a concern with the in-house counsel and being the human resource person. It's legal is legal, and human resource is totally different. Can you give me, Wanda, what your title is for human resource? I mean,
It's Human Resources Coordinator.
So it's Human Resource Coordinator. This is just my own personal opinion. I really think this is a conflict because the legal department is the legal department, and if you have a laborer or somebody on the police department, a firefighter that's got an issue, and they're coming to Wanda, who's the HR coordinator, but yet she's also the assistant legal
No.
But the HR
attorney.
coordinator would still be under the auspices of, or under the directive of the manager and the Board of Selectmen. So simply by having it in the legal department or its own human resources department, to me, I think I hear what you're saying, Sandy, but if the Board of Selectmen said, no, we're not going to negotiate this is part of the contract, it would still be up to the human resources person to hold the line of the town, even though they're looking for, they're not out solely for the best interest, or they would be employed by the police or fire unions to do their work. They are still employed by the town, so I don't see where the conflict of interest would
So in
Well,
that, in that...
if the issue is one that if it is in conflict, and there will be a representative of the employee if they're covered by a CBA,
Yes.
Right.
who will appear with them if there's an issue that's elevated to that level.
And
So
then-
I don't see a conflict of interest.
that's what I was saying.
I would think, Sandy, since we have two individuals, there would be a disconnect between both of our attorneys.
Well, the
I don't
grievance
see
process
that.
would
You know what,
apply.
Eileen, I'd like to see that, but I don't see that, and I really do think that when you have one person who's wearing two hats, I do think it's a conflict. But that's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, you know what, and quite honestly, that's not for us, to me, it's not, we certainly take it up in a different arena, but we're getting into policy of how they have things structured.
That's just, like I said, that's just my own
So
opinion.
just going back to the money, I don't know,
So there's nothing to vote on under human resources, so we're back to
so,
legal. The caseload does seem to have dropped substantially.
yeah, that's like a roller coaster. You never know what's coming in. However, since we did negotiate the contracts last year, the savings when we negotiate, that we
Right.
don't have to be at the table.
Yes.
So we're experiencing, and that needs to be said, when we solve our contracts, we don't keep paying and paying and paying to outside counsel.
It sets
It should be noted that in 2013, we will be negotiating again.
How many years?
Well, we hope all six. We hopefully will have the sixth coming to the voters for March, but that'll potentially not be a long-term contract, so we'll be at least negotiating the 5 that are expiring in 2014.
That's
That's with Public Works.
Yeah.
They haven't had a contract.
The point being
Yes.
that when we resolve the conflicts and solve it at the table, we do experience the savings. That's all I'm going to say
Yeah.
on that one.
Yeah.
Are you, any other questions?
I have the motion on the table for 238,738
Oh, wait.
as requested.
I did have one more question.
Okay.
If you just explained, I'm just a little confused on the revenue portion of the attorney's office. If that's a revenue for condo plan reviews? I'm just...
Sure. There haven't been a lot in the last few years, as you might imagine, due to the economy, but when the planning board approves condominium developments, one of the things that comes into being is a set of condominium docs that's basically declaration, condominium, and bylaws. And those govern the governing of the association, which is like a small town within a development. And there are often interfaces between the condominium association and the town where the town has interests, such things as trash pickup, who's to do, where parking will be, who's to do snow plowing, those types of things. And so the planning board has asked that we review those documents with the town's interests in mind. And those, over time, we've done it in various ways, and the planning board has recently readdressed it and given us new direction. Basically what happens is that for each development, the developer puts up $500 as an escrow, and most of the time we don't exceed that at the rates we charge. But it's very unpredictable, that revenue, and that's probably why I don't know what figure Mike may have listed. 2,000. That would represent
estimated.
4 developments in a year's time.
All right. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Just for clarification, too, because I think last year Fred or Mr. Nichols confirmed that when the warrant articles submitted by the Board of Selectmen, before the warrant articles for the Board of Selectmen are submitted to the Public Budget Committee, et cetera, that they are reviewed in your office?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Again, moving on, and
Yeah.
all those in
Vote.
favor? $238,738. Unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Okay. And finally, Budget Committee budget.
I'll move.
Okay. Now, no, don't move it.
Don't move it.
Page?
Page 3, I didn't see a reason to have a special meeting to do our budget. I figured we would do it here. Things staying the same for Joan. What we heard tonight was that we will be covered under the town attorney's budget. I'll be content with that, providing if we ever have a problem, we go back to the tape of this night. Fair enough?
Absolutely.
It was only put in there because we weren't covered. I feel that if we have a problem, we will now be covered, maybe better than we would have been covered with the $1,000 in the budget.
Right.
All right, we have expenses in there of $350, and I would like to eliminate the $1,000 for legal expenses.
Do we have to move this part
Yeah,
before we discuss it?
we've got to vote on it. I'm presenting
Oh, okay,
it to you as
gotcha.
though I didn't call a special meeting for this.
Right, okay.
Okay? So I'm presenting it to you as our budget.
Now I get it,
And then we
yep.
can have discussion on it, all right? The seminars have increased in expense. This year I went, it was $80 by the time you were done per person. Every year we elect four people, usually at least one of them, sometimes as many as 3, could be new and not re-elected. They should be going to the seminars, or they need to go to the seminars. And although we're very generous with printing and copying, I will tell you the expenses are escalating a little bit. Cartridges cost a lot. We generate a lot of paper because we need it as our workbooks, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what, going down, this is what I proposed. $18.50 for Joan. 0 for our legal expenses, although, well, we don't need $1 in there. But 0 for our legal expenses. $350 for our general expenses, and $300 for education, which would reduce us from $3,200 to $2,500, I do believe.
So you're going to add an account?
I'm sorry?
You're going to add an account?
Education?
I'm going to add an account subline for education.
Would you be comfortable just in putting that education into the BudCom committee expenses?
Yeah,
Why not?
it
Just
comes
make it
under
one item.
expenses.
Actually,
One
no.
less line item.
Actually, no, because I don't like to lump expenses. The expenses to me are our supplies, and if we have somebody, unfortunately, who dies, or we send flowers or something like that. But the education line, it just jumped tremendously, Ben.
No problem. Is
For
that
the
would be under
seminars?
is staff development the general account that you would use for that?
Bingo, done.
So it's the 3910?
Well, we don't have staff, so education, period.
I use that one generic.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right.
Whatever.
The budget committee, the budget has certain numbers that it uses throughout, so it's consistent, so I would recommend exactly what's
Okay.
there.
Just so
So you're adding account 003.41304 3910
Wow.
for $300? Is that what you said?
yeah.
I thought you said 350.
You've been spending
No,
time in the
it's
finance office. He's
$350
getting you
for
trained.
No, it's-
the expenses, and it's
Account numbers are
$300 for
science,
education.
I think.
Yeah.
Any discussion on that?
Oh, do you have a motion?
So when you're looking at,
Well, we need a motion.
when you're looking at $300, you're saying that that's that would cover it educationally. You're thinking it's $80 times however
Reimburse
many
or
plus.
partly reimburse.
And that would be sufficient, because you've been doing expenses and some of the training with the 350 barely, but not, we haven't
Well,
been
we
doing
haven't,
it, so-
we haven't used any of that. The training that I went to this year, I absorbed.
Okay,
And
I
I'm
get
just
you.
saying that...
So that would do it.
It used to be, it was free. But we've now moved to the point where the same thing that was free is now $80.
Yep.
So,
Gotcha.
based on how much we make here, you know. All right, so,
But I mean, you did mention a while back that there was incurred expense for the printing of some of the material that you've been giving out to us.
yeah.
Is $350 enough in that account to do that?
Well, let's go to 350 as it is. I haven't charged you guys anything. I've been
She's
doing,
printing
I've
a
been
lot.
doing it
Oh.
all.
Right.
And the cost of cartridges, paper, and, it's not the paper, to be honest with you, it's the cartridges. And, you know, we do a lot with email, but there's a lot of conflicts with email and sending emails out. So there are things, as a budget committee, I'd like to say, everybody come in with your laptop, but obviously we can't do that. And we do need printed stuff, maybe more than some other groups do, because we sit here and we work on it. So that being said, I'm not here forever. I don't want to pass that burden on to somebody else down the road. You don't want it, trust me. I mean, I just happen to have 2 copiers home, but like I say, the cost of printing doesn't come free.
Well, that's what I said. Where do you get the money to pay for the cartridges?
It comes out of my pocket.
Out of her pocket.
Well, we shouldn't be doing
It's not, well, you know what, it's a discussion for another time.
Pass it on,
But,
but
you
that's
know-
what you're doing.
Well, it came out of, we had a request from other departments for printed material, and as you can see, every department has a budget. And we represent 15 copies. When we want 15 copies of a 100-page document, that is labor and supplies and all of that. So here, we don't have any labor going on. We don't have a labor line. We don't do that. We generate a lot of stuff ourselves that I think people don't realize. But it would be nice for the next person in, if you had to go do the copies, if one of you was the chair and you had to go make copies, it would be costly. So just, that's how I'm looking at it. So I'm going to make a motion.
Cheers. Not making a motion.
Yeah, that's right, I don't make a you can make the motion. You want my numbers? Or just, so you read it off and it's clean? Is that our budget? So secretarial wages?
Secretarial wages, $1,850. Budget committee expenses, miscellaneous supplies, et cetera, $350. Education, where necessary for budget committee members, $300, for a total of $2,500 for the year 2013.
And in that case, we have actually reduced our budget, Michael.
Anybody alive for a second?
Well, do we need to reduce the legal expense to zero?
We did.
Or you read off the other ones?
Well, we gave the ones that we're endorsing, okay? With nothing,
And it's zero.
nothing on the legal line.
Now, I'm going to briefly address the motion, if I may.
Who was the, wait, who was the second on that?
Mike, he's
Michael,
been,
okay.
we have him well-trained.
Yeah.
No Board of Selectmen and no committee can bind another in the future. Keep that in mind, and with all due respect to my good friend, Sandra, the past is prologue. You never know what's going to happen. You never know in a given year what the sentiment of a Board of Selectmen may be. And I am going to oppose this motion, even though I made it, because of removing the legal line, because I think the Budget Committee absolutely needs access to independent legal counsel. Whatever is promised at this particular moment, you have a future ahead of you, and it may or may not be amenable. That's it. Everybody ready to vote?
Okay. All those in favor of the motion?
I'm opposed, Joan.
Okay. With that,
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
just a couple of questions.
yes,
Trustee of the trust funds is on this same page, and I'm following Mrs. Woolsey's lead from a few moments ago. Are you bringing them in on the second round for the revenue projection, or just for their expenses?
for their expenses. They can do both in the same night. I don't have
I don't know if you're going to ask them questions on the revenue. I didn't know if you did that at this point in time or later in your sessions on revenue in general.
We usually
I'm
have
just looking
them-
at a couple that you might want to get done tonight and just
Yeah.
clean up.
I don't want to take any more tonight,
Got it.
okay?
And the reality, Ben, of course, as you know, is that whatever the trustees of the trust funds have to spend will be spent.
Of course.
That's just a
Just trying to
guideline.
save people 2 minutes coming in for an evening.
If they don't show up, then
You know,
we'll
Ben,
move fast.
sometimes we have a question. Sometimes, going forward, we have a question on a fund or how it's managed. You got to bear in mind, we don't always have the same members from year to year.
Well, that is the
Okay.
question, then. Are you going to be discussing the details of, when they come in on their night, are you going to discuss because they need to be prepared for that, their revenue projections?
Yeah, we only have
Got it.
one.
Okay.
Okay?
They
Our
can be
next-
duly warned then.
Our next meeting is Thursday, November 8th. I want to wish everyone well Election Day. We will not be meeting on that Tuesday, so our next meeting is Thursday, November 8th, and that will be the police department.
I will move to adjourn at 9:25 PM.
Second.
Oh, a lot of sense.